as the first Asian American woman to serve as U.S. ambassador, what challenges did you face in your role as a minority woman, and how did you overcome them? What advice would you give to young women today who want to pursue a career like you in politics?
First, know yourself. Know what you want out of life. Know what you do well and what you don't. I always like to be prepared, to know my job, to anticipate what is needed, then take the initiative to get the job done and more. Let me also say that from the very, very start of my college life and career, I always knew I did not want to work to become rich or to make money. I wanted to make a contribution to the public good. And that makes a difference on the career paths you take. Because if you want to make money, you certainly focus probably on Wall Street, not on diplomacy. So I say that. I knew as a Chinese American female immigrant, my ethnicity, which is my identity, and my gender, would become constraints in seeking a diplomatic career. Looking around myself, I saw no one who looked remotely like me in any position that I aspired to. I think there's a saying, you cannot be what you cannot see. When I graduated from college, I wanted to join the Foreign Service. I hit a brick wall. At the time, the Foreign Service had a ruling, or rather a regulation. Any Foreign Service applicant needed to be a citizen of America for 9 years. I had just gotten my citizenship when I graduated. So in my mind, to wait 9 years to prepare to try to get a job was just not practical. So I joined the Peace Corps. And Peace Corps worked out very well for me. After getting my international experience from serving in the Peace Corps in Sabah, Malaysia, I scrambled to get the right education. Well, after getting a graduate degree from Harvard, I found that was also not enough. I just could not find a job working on international affairs. So I followed my father's advice. I buckled down, pushed shoulder to grindstone, worked hard, harder, and better, sought out mentors, and built networks. A friend and I co-founded the Women's Foreign Policy Group, which I'm very proud to say is active today, to this day, still helping young women of all races network, get to know each other, navigate the Washington environment, navigate the foreign policy establishment, and helping each other work to rise to the top of international affairs careers. And I might add something here. In my day, the diplomatic corps, the Foreign Service, was characterized as white, male, pale, and Yale. Now it's not as bad as then, but it's still there. And, it turned out to be a good thing. that I never joined the Foreign Service, as I would discover later that the State Department has an assignment restriction policy, which has impacted AAPI, or Asian Americans, most. Had I been able to join the Foreign Service at that time, because of my background and having relatives still in China, I would most probably have been barred from working, certainly in China, and also in working on China. And in those days, I would not even be able to ask why, to find out why, or to appeal. And as I think about it, I'm not sure I would have founded the U.S.-China Education Trust had I had that experience. It took me more than 20 years of government service to break the ambassadorial barrier to become the first Asian American ambassador in U.S. history. It was 1989. That's pretty late. But it still gives hope that Asian Americans can still call this country our own. And I have always asked myself, I should say because I have always asked myself, in what other country in the world would a first generation Chinese American have the opportunity to become an ambassador? You think about it. What other country? I would say only in America. And now, as I've asked that question, I want to throw out a question for particularly our GCC members. Because I've thought about it. Why has there never been an Asian American Henry Kissinger, or Madeleine Albright, or General Colin Powell? Why? I think we've already discussed this partly. We've discussed the answer. That has to do with the horrific Asian American leadership gap. But the other part of the answer, I think, will come, Tim, with your next question.